Republicans are poised to be retaking the House of Representatives in 2022, and I guess sworn in 2023. Today, I expect this to be a relatively shorter video, but I do plan to go over some of the generic congressional polling uh, recently, and talking about, and talking about, um, shifts in policies and in the news, which have led to this shift. Obviously, 2022 expected to be a red wave year, but I think that it's important to talk about, go into depth about what is causing this shift to happen, especially since Democrats at the start of the year, I guess they were at the tip of their A game at the start of 2020 or 2021, and how it has shifted downward. So now let's take a look at the polling. And let's start off with this first NBC News Wall Street Journal poll. This came out in April 17th, April 20th. Democrats +5, another Quinnipiac poll. Democrats +9. This was in May. And then we all the way hopped to July, essentially into July, early August, to Democrats +1. So let's think about what's going on in April. The vaccine rollout is happening. Obviously, Biden very, very popular. That is the thing the policy that he is most popular about, and that he has the highest approval on his handling of the coronavirus. That obviously, being the leader of the Democrat Party, that wave goes out, that ripples out to the rest of the Democrats, helping them in the congressional vote. In addition, Republicans. Let's talk about things that were going on with Republicans in that time. That past January, obviously, as we know, there was the incident at the Capitol. Many people call it a riot, or whatever you'd like to call it. You can call it whatever you'd like, depending on your political party. However, it did not bode well with independents whatsoever, or many more liberal Republicans, Mitt Romney, Larry Hogan. Obviously, a lot of those Republicans ended up voting to remove or find Donald Trump guilty in the vote in the Senate and in the House, especially with Liz Cheney. That meant that a lot of the support was actually in the Democrats' favor. Democrats really didn't have many scandals going for them. They didn't have, and they also had a lot of benefits. They had the vaccine rollouts. They had an economy. The stock market was booming, especially during early April or April to May. Obviously, it's now had it's went into decline. The gas prices began to go into decline as the summer began. So the scandals obviously started up for Democrats, especially when these polls began to trot. Now, we've only had 5 generic congressional polls so far, but I still think that there is a trend, as you can see, and it's important to talk about it. Also, we have to mention this is essentially, quote, a red wave year. When it's a wave year election, a blue wave or a red wave, it essentially means that the party in power at the moment, the Democrat Party, has control of the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the presidency, all of the 3 elected bodies of government. And that means that usually in an election, the next election is a referendum on the party in charge, because the minority party, the party that's not in charge, gets major turnout, and the Democrats are not as enthused as they would have been if it was a Republican Congress. This is something that happened in 2018 when Republicans had the Senate, the House, and the presidency, with Trump, Paul Ryan, and Mitch McConnell all leading their respective areas. I guess the executive branch, and then McConnell and Ryan leading the legislative branch. So anyway, that's a quick overview of the trend, or what you would call the historic understanding of a wave election. It really began in the 90s, but now it's really taken hold. And also the scandals and the benefits that the Democrats had going for them, and the scandals that Democrats also had going for them. Now we hop to July, August, now slowly creeping into September. Obviously not there yet, but when you look at it, you can see that Republicans obviously gaining traction. When you look at the Afghanistan scandal, I call it a scandal just because it's a political scandal, just like Benghazi was, the Afghanistan crisis, whatever you'd like to call it. Very bad withdrawal. Obviously, you had people, the videos are just even worse than Saigon when you do look at it. You had people falling off of aircrafts, U.S. aircrafts departing the Kabul airport. You had just terrible sights and terrible reactions to things of people. You have 15,000 United States citizens still left in Kabul, essentially trapped there, unable to get out because the Taliban now controls the country, essentially. So obviously going against Biden with those videos, with now Americans do support Afghanistan, withdrawing from Afghanistan, but the way that it was done, very, very unpopular. Now that's a foreign policy issue. You get into domestic policy, or not even just that, but economic policy. Rising gas prices, the average gas price is about, I think, $3.84 at the moment. I'm not entirely sure on that metric, however. Compared to last year, it was $2.20, or, low twos, the low $2 gas prices. And, you can correlate that with Trump's leadership versus Biden's leadership. Under Biden, gas prices went up. Same with lumber, same with, all sorts of equipment. That's why the housing prices are widely up, because lumber's up, because all sorts of these resources are up. When you look at fruit and poultry and all sorts of necessities that people need, all of those prices are up due to the inflation. And that is essentially also due to the American Relief Bill, or whatever you'd like to call it, from the beginning that was passed, that printed a bunch of money into the economy and boosted the prices. And all of this has been a result of that. So very bad economic policies from the Biden administration, especially with those area issues. The Afghanistan, the foreign policy, the domestic policy. This is a bipartisan thing. Many people believe that with the education system, about critical race theory, CRT, this is bipartisan, not bipartisan, but not bipartisan in politics, but with regular United States citizens. Democrats and Republicans both support. Many Democrats and most Republicans also support not teaching critical race theory in schools. You've seen those videos of parents at school board meetings, black parents, white parents, all coming out against it. The momentum's there. They have the optimism. They have everything going for them there, and that's not good for Biden, because it makes Biden seem like, the Republican talking point. Him and the Democrats are trying to indoctrinate little children, and obviously that doesn't bode well with the Democrats, whether or not you believe that or not. People believe it, and some Democrats do, and a lot of independents are against CRT. And that's going to help Republicans going into it. And then finally, the border issue. Then I guess you could call this a domestic policy, or somewhat of a foreign policy, but mostly domestic security. You could see probably actually from the spring, but that was, the Democrats had other things going for them. And it's continuing now, where we had an overflow, and we continue to have an overflow of immigrants from South America, Mexico, Central America, coming through the United States border. Obviously, a lot of them did have coronavirus, COVID, that led to rising cases in Texas and in New Mexico and in the South, because obviously that's where they immigrated to, closest to the border. And you had the facilities being overrun, and people blame Biden for that, because Biden said, when you pull up the clips, Biden was in favor of people coming across the border. Obviously, he said that they should. I think at the quote Democrat debate, he said that the people should surge the border. So obviously, not a lot of the best things going for Biden at the moment. This is probably one of the lowest points of it is the lowest point of his presidency so far, obviously, or I guess a little bit over an eighth into the presidency. So he's hit his lowest point. We'll see if it gets worse than this. But now, as we can see, one of the newest polls on August 12th to August 18th, Republicans now up in the generic congressional vote. Now I know that, as you can see, 38 to 39, there's a lot of undecided voters out there. And that is because a lot of people, especially a lot of independents, are jumping off of the Democrats, while some are jumping off of Republicans. It's coming from a lot of the independents. You go from 45 to 38, some at one point 49% of the country fully in favor of the Democrats, not even any independents with that poll, compared to 38. Now, Republicans always lower 40s, now 39. So they dropped a little bit, but Democrats had more of a plateau. But anyway, this is what I'm looking at right now. Republicans, the trend is now going completely in their favor. They have a year essentially left until, I guess, a year and 3 months actually a year and 2 months until the 2022 midterm elections. This could mean that they could be retaking the House. On my website, the election prediction website, if you go up to the homepage, I have my House prediction at the moment set up there. It's 2022 House election prediction. This gives Republicans 232 seats compared to Democrats 203 seats. Now, that is what, in my view, it's looking at the moment. Obviously, things change, but at this point in the history and in the course of this year, Republicans are poised to retake the House of Representatives, especially it being a red wave year and many policies and scandals going against the Democrats. So if you disagree with any of the things that I've said here, and if you think that this prediction is off, or if you think you want to give the Republicans more or less, I actually didn't give them really that many. They were in the 240s in 2016 and in 2017 and in 2018. I put them at 232. Obviously, due to the polarization, it's not going to be. Republicans are probably not going to get into the 250s. But if you disagree with the numbers, let me know in the comments. If you think they should get less, then you can certainly say that as well, and I'll talk to you about that as well. I'll make sure to do my best to respond. But this is my house prediction. If you disagree with any of the comments that I said on the scandals and things going against the Democrats at the moment, and the red wave election, red wave history elections, make sure to let me know in the comments. We are at 107 subscribers. I'd love to get it up to 110 by the end of the week. Maybe that's a little low or a little high bar. If we could get up to 115 by the end of the week, that'd be even better. But make sure to subscribe to the channel is all I'm trying to say. I really appreciate everything. I'm trying to grow the channel, and I'm going to keep making videos. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like the video and, of course, comment if you disagree. Anyway, thank you for watching, and have a great day.